Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell so you get a notification of when we're releasing a new video. I'm sitting today again with Michael Porter. Morning, Michael.
Morning, Robin.
So, Michael, we interesting time in world politics, world markets. We've got an elephant in the room, and he's got blonde hair, hasn't he?
Blonde hair, orange hair.
Orange hair.
Yeah.
Michael, I mean, obviously, we thought it was all about tariffs with Mexico and elsewhere, but we've come into his crosshairs a little bit, haven't we?
Yeah, Robin, maybe just, a quick mention on tariffs. I just think also on the tariff side, there's so much toing and froing going on. You know, the tariffs were imposed on Mexico and Canada and then delayed by a month. Then they came into force earlier this week. Then they've been delayed by another month, or, now they're talking about some concessions for Canada. So, there's this sort of carrot and stick. But if you're a business person in America, or Mexico or Canada for that instance, you just don't know where you stand at the moment because things are changing every day and there's actually no policy certainty. And we'll demonstrate that in our presentation next week. But yeah, it really is a tricky time on the tariffs. And yes, we did think it was all about tariffs, but probably maybe a sentence that should concern everybody in the world is his speech to Congress on Tuesday night, where he was at pains to point out that he's just getting started. And I actually think that's a very dangerous phrase. Yeah.
And he's got 4 years, hasn't he?
Exactly. Trump there's definitely some bigger issues at play here, Robin, in terms of global politics. There's obviously a desire to end the war. I think there's a desire to end the war quickly so he's not blamed for it and he can point to his predecessors. But I think there's probably also a realization that for Ukraine to win the war is almost impossible. He's trying to draw Russia maybe away from China. He's trying to force Europeans to spend more on defense and not for the US to shoulder the whole burden, which I think is possibly quite reasonable. But it's jolted the Europeans into action, having done nothing for a couple of years. Even if you think about what's happened in Gaza, his Riviera comment, it has jolted the Arab leaders into a summit on what they're going to do to rebuild Palestine, having done nothing for 2 years. So he's almost saying, I'm going to put something wild out there. And hopefully that'll jolt other people into action, I think. So some of it, I think, is that. But I think there are some bigger issues at play here, Robin, and he's got us in the crosshairs, you're quite right. And I think there's maybe, there's a growing feeling that it's not random. It's not because of Musk. It's not because Musk got bullied at school or whatever. It's actually part of a campaign against BRICS and this US dominance and trying to undermine the BRICS framework because they're actually a threat to America,
Yes.
And it's grown stronger in recent years because the West has pushed Russia towards China and India and probably us as well,
Yes.
So as I said in the beginning, his comment that he's just getting started, I think should actually it should be taken seriously because I do think there's more to come. And if you read, well, I suppose the more widely you read, Robin, the more concerned you get that this is quite a well orchestrated, say campaign. It's probably not the right word, but this is a plan that's been thought out for 3 or 4 years while he's been biding his time to get president again. And it's not something that it appears like he's shooting from the hip, but I'm not sure that it is.
Yes. Yeah. It's just his engagement style, isn't it?
Yeah. I think you probably share the same concerns.
Yeah, Michael, I do. Everything I've read has suggests to me that the behavior of Trump looks like a lunatic who's on the fringe. But the more I read, there's a real concerted effort here to change decade-long neoconservative liberal behavior, which has actually not been good for America in the long term. And America's really, the whole make America greater thing again is the real thing, because China's got so great in the background, quietly.
And Robin, I don't think we must lose sight of what else is going on. So we focus on tariffs. Obviously Musk is cutting through government spending with a cleaver.
Yes.
And, I think that quite honestly, the world should be watching that, because if that's successful, it's a wake-up call to the whole rest of the world to say your governments are inefficient. And if America is successful in that, their economy is going to pull ahead of others, because they are going to then be more efficient, and their debt and and interest rates will actually come down in the States, because that funding pressure on the deficit and stuff will come down. So the American debt is a huge issue, and it hasn't gone away, and there's a lot for Trump to do to prove that that trajectory is going to change. But it's an interesting thing that's going on, and we should be watching it. And then also his pushback against political correctness, Robin. It's all part of this, I suppose, Musk is also saying, we have Trump, we have free speech. You might not like what I say, but we do have free speech. Whereas in Europe, he's saying to the Europeans, you don't have free speech anymore. You're not democracies anymore. So it's an interesting time. But yes, he's got it in for us a little bit as well. And I think that the subject of intuition this week is don't poke the bear. And I think, unfortunately, we're poking the bear with a big stick at the moment. Every opportunity we get, we seem to be provoking Donald Trump. And I think that's a very foolish strategy. Yeah.
So, Michael, here's the perverse thing about markets. We're sitting here, we're looking at, the ANC invited the Iranian ambassador to Lutuli House this last week and said, we're not afraid of our friends. That's poking the bear.
Exactly.
And but we're sitting this morning, and the rand is sitting at 18.15, which is the strongest it's been for almost 3 weeks. Michael, I'm confused. Can you help me?
Sorry, I was hoping you were going to answer that question. No, listen, Robin, I think what else is going on in the States is that there is a bit of a rotation out. Europe is, for right or wrong, Europe's having a bit of a resurgence, because Germany's had a new, government, and they talking about relaxing their debt rules to fund a bit of extra defense spending. So Germany's economy's had a little bit of a boost. I think that these Trumps and this uncertainty is weighing on the US economy, and it's weighing on the US dollar. So the dollar started to weaken, and it's actually, having strengthened from when Trump was appointed to maybe the end of December, even probably the end of January, it started to weaken a little bit since then. So we're on the flip side of the coin, which is obviously good for us. But yes, I suppose there's a slowing down on the tech side. Tech stocks are quite weak, and I think, at the same time, we also talk about, China is sort of embracing their private sector. I think they realize that they need their private sector to innovate and to stand up to America and to compete with America. So having pushed their tech giants into the cold, they've now been welcomed back with open arms. Yeah. And I think that maybe in some ways markets are just naturally rotating. We've been saying for a long time, America is, it's been the only game in town, and we've said be careful of that. And I think markets are just rotating to maybe very cheap assets elsewhere that are worth a shot, and it's not all about America and the dollar. But I think there's a lot of uncertainty in America at the moment, because even on the tariffs, they're just changing almost every day. You have got tariffs now, we're rolling them back, but we might make an announcement tomorrow. And how do you plan? As a business person, how do you plan in that? It's very difficult.
No, it is. Well, I guess it brings it back to our age-old saying, Michael. We've repeated it ad nauseum. Companies are not countries, and countries are not companies. And keep watching the companies. That's where the importance lies. Thank you so much for joining us. We're out of time. We could have spoken about where we're going with the budget, but that could stay for another time. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.